until you find the product market fit, I think you need to conserve cash. There is no point throwing money, and throw money on what, right? But once you do find the product market fit, then you begin to push the pedal. And I think Whatfix played that journey really to perfection.
But once you enter, can you leverage, understand the customers better, understand adjacencies, what are the needs they have? How do you actually evolve your product market fit from one application to a buyer being manager to VP to a CXO and continuously evolve your product? Actually, that would define like how big this company can become.
Hi, wherever you're joining us, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Tech Conversations, where we bring you insights from tech entrepreneurs, CXOs, and investors. I'm Hari Arakli, and in this episode, Alok Goyal, managing partner at Stellaris Venture Partners, and Khadim Batti, co-founder and CEO of Whatfix, a digital adoption platform provider, talk about their partnership from a VC who was skeptical about the venture to his fastest term sheet to product market fit to $100 million in annual recurring revenue on the horizon. They also talk about lessons from this experience and how the playbook has evolved for Indian SaaS companies selling enterprise software to the world's biggest software markets. So thank you both for making time to do this.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You both are well known in the startup ecosystem. For a more general audience.
Well, we are known because he's known. That's the only reason we are known.
So, yeah, from a general audience's perspective, we can start simply with very brief backgrounders about what Whatfix is and what Stellaris is. Maybe you take a minute, then we'll jump into how you guys came together and all of that.
Yeah, I'm Khadim, co-founder, CEO at Whatfix. We are two co-founders, myself and Kumar. Whatfix basically helps realize the ROI on software stack. So typically, if any large enterprise, if you take, they spend several million, hundreds of millions of dollars or billions, if you look at fortunes, and they have more than thousands of software. So far, there was no mechanism to visualize, is the company realizing the ROI on the digital transformation projects and other deployments? So Whatfix provides that and as well as gives them tools to actually continuously improve the productivity across organization.
Okay. Alok, you want to take a stab at
Sure.
Stellaris?
So I'm Alok. I am part of the investment team at Stellaris. We are a firm that started now almost exactly 8 years back in January of 2017. Early stage investors, broadly within the tech space. We come in, we partner with companies very early in their life cycle. This can be right at the inception where there's a team with an idea. Sometimes they might have an early product, sometimes early revenue, but usually that's when there are still a lot of unknowns with the companies when we come and partner with these companies. Currently investing from our third fund, which we recently announced, that's a 300 million fund. Overall manage about just north of 600 million now. The interesting thing is that Whatfix was the first company that we invested in when we started Stellaris back in early 2017.
Okay, first ever company.
First company.
Not just a first SaaS company.
And they didn't have the complete drawdown as well.
We didn't. So actually, yeah, it goes even more interesting that we were still raising our fund in 2016. And I remember that in September of 2016 is when we felt that we could do a first close of our first fund. And that's when I reached out to Khadim and Vara saying that we don't have a fund yet. We are going to probably close it sometime soon. Would you be interested in partnering with us? And luckily, they were okay with the idea and they took the risk on us as much as we took the risk on them at that point in time.
Khadim, you both have a very interesting experience in how Whatfix came about, right? I mean, two product guys really diving deep for like 3 odd years into something, and then a little offshoot out of that becoming what Whatfix is today. I know you've told this story many times, but for our audience also, we want to recollect that because down the line, I want to connect that with lessons from that experience. So just for that sake.
Sure. So both me and my co-founder, actually, we work almost for like 10 years building business intelligence product for Huawei Telecom. we came out, we were new completely to the SaaS or a cloud world. We started building a product called Search Enabler, which would help small businesses globally to improve their social media and search visibility. Our belief was like from India, we could only build a product which can cater to small businesses. That's how we started. We used to give a bunch of recommendations to these small businesses which can help them improve their traffic, etc. But what we saw, those business owners were not implementing those recommendations. And that's where our assumption or hypothesis went wrong. We wanted to make our product fully self-served, and that's where we started looking for different ways or mechanism to do that. We didn't want it to wrap up with services, so we came up with a feature called Fix It, which would be a button which, if a user clicks, it will show them exactly how to fix their website problems. Many of our customers came to us saying that, can I use this feature for my customers, my users of my website or my applications? So that was kind of a moment which we realized that this kind looks like a disruptive feature. Many customers are asking for it. So we decided, and we were only 2-people team. So at least we had learned by then in 3 years the lesson that we can't do 2 things. So we shut down Search Enabler and we pivoted to that Fix It button to Whatfix, which would help the users to get the guidance and complete their task in the moment in the flow of work.
This was around 2010, 11?
Towards 2014 early.
2014.
Yeah.
Okay. So by then you two had met already. And
We met for the first time in April of 2014. There was an event organized in Bangalore, and see, if you go back to those days, Hari, SaaS or enterprise software was not the dominant, in a way, category within venture. There were very few people writing checks in that space. So there were few of us who curated, I think, 50
Intech 50.
Intech 50, that was the name of the event. Thank you for reminding me, Khadim. This was April 2014, at Leela. And they were one of the companies that presented. It was like a 5-minute snapshot that each team was presenting. So that's when I met the first time. I didn't quite take too much notice, if I may be honest, at that point in time. One of my colleagues, and this was back at Helion days. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this. I was at Helion Venture Partners at that point in time. And one of my colleagues had kept in touch with Khadim and Vara. He was constantly asking me that, look, you should meet the team, you should meet the team. And I was actually, if I may use the word, dismissive. I was saying that, look, the world is going toward design thinking. You don't need proactive support to be able to tell users how to use the software. Software just needs to become good enough for it to be used. And therefore, my belief was that, look, we don't need this. So I even refused to meet actually thereafter. Until one fine day, this colleague of mine, his name is Karan Gupta, by the way. He's a founder now. He said, Alok, I'm tired. Why don't I give you a demo? He gave me a demo. And that's the first time I saw the product. And it's amazing sometimes, like they say that, look, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I believe that a video is worth 1,000 pictures. And as I saw that video or that demo, I thought, my God, because I'd spent my life in enterprise software in the past. I felt that there is so much of software which is so unusable. And users need this kind of a capability to be able to utilize the potential of what they're paying for. And again, I've been in this business for 12 years, Hari. It's the fastest term sheet I've written, and this was back at Helion actually, first. I think 3 days.
3 days, yes.
3 days within our first meeting, we invested in Whatfix at that point in time.
Okay, I want to briefly ask you about, the search enabler. I was curious about why your customers were not implementing, because by all accounts, and what little homework I've done about it, it was a great product with lots of features when you released it, because you guys spent a lot of time into it, and quite opposite to what you did with Fix It. Why was it that people were not sort of embracing it?
See, if I go back to that domain, SEO and social media, so primarily there were 3 different cohorts. One was small businesses, second was agencies and SEO experts or social media experts. And the third one was enterprise, where they had marketing teams. Now, there were products for enterprise, probably like Conductor, Brightage at that point. There were specific products, a specialized product for agencies and uh, experts of those field, like SEO experts or SMOs, called Revens and SEO Moz and all. So we wanted to target this as small business cohort. Now, small business, like restaurant or a barber shop or any shops coming online or any small businesses coming online which they want to leverage, they were typically run by people who didn't understand technology that much. And if they didn't understand the technology, very hard for them to interpret the recommendations like, okay, you need to change the metadata, meta description, you need to change the image alt, to interpret that and actually fix those things. They were happy to say, okay, I'll give you $100 or $200, you do it for me. But what we realized that do it for by wrapping it services or wrapping with services and taking the couple of $100 for fixing those issues will not help us scale. We thought we need to solve this problem with technology. So we had to make it completely do it yourself or self-served. And that's where we thought this will not fit that particular cohort. We did get some close to 100 customers, paying customers. We were getting regularly. But then we thought this will not scale. We will probably build a few $1 million lifestyle business, but it's not a large, it would not have a large outcome for us.
So what was there an aha moment which helped you to switch to not only that small tool, but also enterprise customers as against smaller businesses and so on?
Yeah. See, again, coming from that small business mindset, like catering to small businesses from India, we were, our thoughts and everything was colored, or we had a bias saying that we'll again build it for small businesses. Even Whatfix, when we did, our focus was that let's cater to global small businesses, SaaS businesses. So all the applications which were customer focused or customer facing, we wanted to cater to them. That's where also probably we were not able to paint the right story. Our TAM was like maybe $200 million, where of course many VCs didn't resonate. But as we started getting deeper into this domain, we realized that every enterprise have thousands of software and very complex software like ERP, CRM, procurement, CLM, CPQs, and they get customized to individual companies' processes and requirements. And that's where out-of-box help or out-of-box support will not work. You need to have a platform which will actually adapt to that. And that was actually kind of a moment for us.
And this was around 2014,
2016, you can say. In fact, first year after taking our funding from Helion, I think we were still doing small businesses. In the end of first year, we just raised maybe $150,000, a lot of churn. I was not sure how to tell this to Alok.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can, if I go back to those days, we, I think, committed towards the end of 2014. And the first 1 year was largely a washout for the reasons that Khadim is mentioning, that I think targeting very small customers. Also, I remember the pivotal moment was that they decided to go for the Dreamforce event in the Bay Area, which is Salesforce annual event. And I still have this figure very embedded in my head that they came back and said that we collected 303 leads from that event. And this was September of 2015. And over the next 6 months or so, a lot of those leads were pursued. But that was the aha moment that in these large companies, every software gets customized. It's not like a Google Mail where this is how you compose an email. Everybody knows it's the same process for everyone. But the processes within enterprises are actually different for the same software. And that's what makes it even harder for them to get adopted. And that was the moment. But to their credit, I think at least I feel that finding product market fit is like trying to find love. There is no process to it. There is no timing to it. There's just no way to do it. What matters is once you find it. And to their credit, I have never seen such a beautiful curve that once they found the product market fit, the execution consistency from that day onwards, I think, is almost unparalleled.
When we were catering to small businesses, our ACVs or ARR per customer was like a couple of $1,000 with a 30-35% churn. And when we went to Dreamforce, and before that, actually, me and my co-founder both were engineers. Like, we didn't have exposure to sales and marketing and CRM or ERP. All these buzzwords were new for us, actually. We were completely unaware of those. And when we went to Dreamforce, we used to get contacts, people who were coming to the booth and saying, okay, I'm a glass cleaning company. We have 200 sellers. We spend $8 million on a sales force. We are a car service agencies with 30 shops, and we have 300 sellers or 300 agents, and we spend for $10 million. Like, that was like a very like eye opener for us, saying, okay, we are selling for $2,000. These guys are spending $10 million on Salesforce. And when we tell them, like, okay, we are going to charge you $10, $20, $30,000, they didn't flinch. So that made us realize there's a huge market adjacent than what we were thinking.
What has that ARR become on an average?
Yeah, from a couple of $1,000s a year, ACV, to now it's like around $130,000 and $35,000, and that's a deal what we typically land with. But as I was mentioning, every company has thousands of software, so they start with one or two applications and then scale to 30, 40, 50s, so that ARR can go up to a few $1 million. 750 plus customers, majority of them are enterprise. We have 83 of Fortune 500. Majority of our business comes from US market, that's around 67%. Close to 23, 24% comes from the western part of Europe, that is UK, Germany, France. That contributes almost 95% of Europe market. So even though we started from India, almost like 90-95% of the business comes from UK, Germany, and US. Even though India is a couple of percent, Australia is another couple of percentage.
So you mentioned the product market fit that they eventually, of course, that they found very well. But since we have an investor and a founder talking together, was there a VC founder fit along the way? When did you find that? Or in your mind, when did you feel that this is going to be a great partnership?
It's an interesting question. To be honest, I was a new VC at that point too. Right. I didn't have too many patterns in my own head. When I met with Khadim and Vara, on one hand, my concern was that these are two people who have been engineers in their past. But what impressed me were 2-3 things at that point in time. One is that they were focusing on customers outside the country. In fact, they had gotten into one of the Fortune 100 companies in Europe at that point in time, which I have sold to in my past, and I know how hard it was. The fact that just two people, one of them writing code, one of them selling remotely, was able to get into that was one of my aha moments. And I thought that, look, there is something special here. And number two was just the belief at that point in time that software will grow tremendously. If you look at an average user in a company, the number of softwares they will use and the amount of time they will use those softwares for, at least our belief was that that's going to just grow rapidly, making it even harder for enterprise users to figure out how to optimally use those softwares. And combination of the two was essentially at that point in time. We invested again. So remember, I invested first time when I was at Helion, second time invested when I was at Stellaris. So by the time I invested from Stellaris, I mean, there was already a strong relationship. I was very familiar with both the founders at that point in time. And I think their problem-solving approach, at least I feel that any path you take as a startup is by design a journey into the unknown. Forget knowing the answers. You actually don't even know what the questions are. You will discover the questions and you will discover the answers in that process. I think just the way these two founders go about finding, both prioritizing problems and finding solutions to those problems was at least the biggest part of this founder market fit as far as I was concerned. In addition to that, I think their ability to continuously evolve the go-to-market function. I always feel, for example, that product is what gives you the right to exist, but distribution is what creates the right to success. And distribution continuously evolves. It's not the same. I mean, he mentioned that they started with a couple of $1,000 ACV. That moved to 5,000, that moved to 10,000, 20,000, eventually now 100,000 plus. Each of those motions are different as well. So the fact that they were able to continuously evolve those motions, and we had seen some part of that journey by the time we came in from Stellaris, gave us the confidence on the founder market fit.
I think in next 2 to 3 quarters, we should get to 100 mil. That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
Focusing along with efficiency, because I think there are no more days of growth at all. any cost, right?
Okay.
So improving our EBITDA numbers, improving our cash burn. So in I think around 5 to 6 quarters, we're looking to become cash flow positive. Another 6, 7, 8 quarters, we're looking at EBITDA positive without compromising our growth rates. In a couple of years, probably if all goes well, we're looking at an IPO in India. That's what we're planning.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, you've laid out the sort of roadmap for us. That's exciting, even as someone who chronicles your story. So bring us to today in the following sense. When you say you help people, I mean, enterprises get the most out of their software, what does that translate to on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so taking a couple of examples, actually, like CRM, right? Sales folks typically spend several hours on a CRM on a daily basis, and CRM is a stack of several applications like your Salesforce, your performance tools, your contracting tools, quotation tools. It becomes very hard for them actually to perform processes, or sometimes it takes long. Right, so the Whatfix actually helps them when they are working by guiding them step by step, like to complete any process. Like if they have a duplicate opportunities, how to merge them, they get stuck. If I have to give some examples in terms of improvement, like when one of the companies like Experian, when they wanted to launch Salesforce into different departments or different regions, typically they used to take 3 months. Now it's crashed to 1 month. So the onboarding, go live period has become pretty smooth with Whatfix. Another very interesting example about Red Cross, right? Like they need volunteers in different regions and all. So they use Whatfix to give nudges to recruit volunteers or actually assign volunteers, or except for new projects. So that in several regions or several places, they were not getting enough volunteers for a project. Now they were able to get with Whatfix. Support agents in several call centers or several enterprise companies, they are able to resolve tickets with the help of Whatfix in pretty fast. Within the companies, 30-40% of internal tickets comes down. So right from improving the productivity, compliances, improving the productivity, several use cases can be applied across different functions and applications.
As a VC founder partnership, when you look back at the last 8 odd years since the Stellaris has been with Whatfix, what stands out to you in terms of great lessons, things that worked very well, things that did not really work? Just think aloud about it.
Yeah, so actually I also speak to a lot of other founders also, very early stage actually. So because when you're going through the journey, sometimes you don't realize what was right and wrong, because unless you pass through that. So I have seen many founders who struggle. One of the symptoms would be like they have 20 people team and 18 or 19 are engineers, right? Because they come from that background and they're biased towards it. I think in hindsight, what we did right was we started investing more on the things which we didn't know. Like, for example, we both were from engineering background. Our first hire was sales. Our second hire was marketing. Our third hire was engineering, when we were actually running out of our hands in terms of fixing bugs and all. Because we didn't know sales marketing. So we doubled down on that very, very early. I think that's probably we did right. And we kept on evolving, as Alok was mentioning earlier. Things which we, in hindsight, I think which I didn't do right, or I could have done better, was that enterprise journey, going to enterprise market. I think it took a couple of years. Probably we should have done in the first 6 months itself. That would have saved us, and we would have been maybe much further ahead in our journey.
I think when I concur on just the importance of continuously evolving the go-to-market. Very often in our industry, there is a saying that, look, you figure out the product, you figure out the go-to-market, and then it's just more fuel to the fire. I don't buy that at all. I mean, I think go-to-market, even at this stage, evolves every single year. Yeah. And so you have to continuously rethink the go-to-market, which I think they have done exceptionally well. I think the other thing that they have done very well is that until you find the product market fit, I think you need to conserve cash. There is no point throwing money, and throw money on what, right? But once you do find the product market fit, then you begin to push the pedal. And I think Whatfix played that journey really to perfection. While he talked about the fact that it took a year before they got their act together, but the good news is that they also did not spend any money in that year. But once they found the product market fit, they did. The last thing I will say is that I think Clearly, companies are initially built because of the founder passion, their hustle, their perseverance, things that normal human beings find very difficult to do. But once it gets to a certain stage, thereafter, the thing that differentiates a good from a great company is their ability to hire high quality talent, being able to give them the environment to succeed. And again, I think that Whatfix has been way ahead of most companies that I know in hiring that quality of talent and actually also giving them the freedom and the environment to succeed, which has been a big differentiator for them. I mean, a lot of people, I'll tell you one mark is many of my younger companies, they want to hire from Whatfix. Everybody recognizes that it's a pool of talent that everybody wants to dip into. And I keep telling them, do what you need to do, but just don't tell me.
Most of them come back, so it's fine.
For VCs, there is this thing about the worry about backing the wrong company in the right category or the wrong company in the right opportunity. So, at what point did you figure out that Whatfix is the right company in the right category?
You know, the amazing thing, Hari, is that this category has been largely ignored globally, and which is what makes Whatfix very unique. See, there are markets where there are 50 companies that are chasing, right? And you're right, in those kinds of spaces, we are worried about the fact that if we take one bet, then we are essentially locked out of that market effectively. In case of Whatfix, the question was the category itself. And in fact, he did talk about the fact that most VCs, and I have also pitched to now so many VCs, Whatfix, but it's the category that people did not believe in. So I don't think we faced the issue of too many people and figuring out that are we taking the wrong bet in that category. The question was, should we take a bet in the category itself or not? Was a real question there. And I don't think even 4 or 5 years into the journey of Whatfix is when the category began to be known. And that's when people took some notice of the category. Otherwise, it was a category, as I said, that nobody believed in. And which is where they did break a lot of new grounds. I mean, Khadim also talked about the fact that traditionally the notion of building a SaaS company from India was all about targeting the bottom end of the market, gradually crawling your way upwards. To my knowledge, they are amongst the first ones to have actually broken into the enterprise space. Also, the conventional wisdom was that you can't do remote sales beyond just a few $1,000s of ACV. They have broken that barrier to numbers, which is actually unthinkable today. So a lot of those, I don't know, I don't want to use I was going to say pioneering approaches or whatever, but a lot of those firsts, I think, were done at Whatfix.
So to that extent, does it make you a little bit more resilient because your enterprise customers now want to consolidate? They don't want quote unquote shelfware and all of those kinds of things.
So we always believed, actually, I will be always a bias to the category, right, compared to what others are looking into. Because I always believed, like, in last couple of decades, several $1 trillion was spent by selling them the dream of digital transformation, right? Like, if there are two companies in the same space, like one is doing digital transformation to get an edge on the other, but now other is also done. So how do you differentiate? So somebody has to measure it and continuously optimize it. So there was nothing catering to that, I think, in a broader way, if I have to say. And that's where I think we got a good opening. I also believe there are two ways actually companies can get into larger enterprises or Fortune companies, right? When there is a new creation of a new category or there's a technology change, right? Like you move from on-premise to cloud. When there's a technology change like Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, like several companies became tens of billions of dollars. Or there are new category creators, right? Like in case like something like Whatfix, which doesn't exist in the category. So you again get an opportunity to enter into larger enterprise. But once you enter, can you leverage, understand the customers better, understand adjacencies, what other needs they have? How do you actually evolve your product market fit from one application to a buyer being manager to a VP to a CXO? And continuously evolve your product, actually that would define like how big this company can become.
What is the playbook today? For Whatfix, surely from your experience, but maybe Indian SaaS companies or your peers.
See, Whatfix, one thing which we did very well is like not only using India as a back office for engineering, but doing heavy lifting across all the functions. that includes customer success for global marketing for global marketing or sales, right? Even acquiring Fortune logos from India. Specifically for the new category, it really worked out well for us. I feel that's one of the playbook. Second, I would say in India, it's very hard to hire a leader who's been there than that actually, because this ecosystem is so nascent, right? We don't have leaders who have done sales or marketing or customer success. So you need to create a different playbook to actually build that leadership. So in our case, what worked is hiring a lot of first principle thinkers, or hiring a lot of founders who tried building the companies but didn't work out. So getting those guys and giving them opportunity to learn and grow actually along with that. So that actually really worked. Probably many other companies can even try out that. Third actually is which worked really for us. Alok also mentioned different ways of GTM and all, like every GTM motion was new for us. So instead of going top down, we actually went bottom up. Like how do we build farming? Created a separate motion for that. How do we do outbound? We created completely end-to-end motion for that, right from marketing to sales. Logo acquisition, we separated out. This was not very common practice across industry, but we tried because we wanted to build that playbook. So wherever there was a playbook to be created, we tried different approach. So those are the few things probably it worked for us. It might work for many others as well.
Yeah, Hari, I would say that playbook for what it was for Whatfix versus what it is for new companies today, I think is quite different for one primary reason that Khadim mentioned, which is that the resident experience and talent available just was not there at the time they were building. That actually has substantially evolved to today, right? And so I don't think the founders who are starting today can or should follow the recipe that Whatfix did. They might be able to follow a very different approach, right? They had to break new grounds, just discover new paths just by themselves every single time. But founders today can actually hire for a lot of that experience today, which they were not able to do at that point in time.
So it's not like we are doing 100% everything from India. Wherever there's a need for the right talent or right channel to be built, regionally we have done that. So like you can say in the last couple of years, the motion which evolved for us was land from India and expand in the region. So we had the whole logo acquisition team sitting out of India across for global market. And there were regional account managers, sellers sitting in the specific location who used to work very closely with 5-6 accounts and actually expand them. Because understanding the projects, understanding the budgets, building that relationship was much better actually meeting them in person. It was very hard to do it remotely. So logo acquisition was working fine. So similarly, field events, right? We need to have our teams locally. Customer advocacy and marketing, we need to have teams locally. So we have built accordingly teams in the region. Like we have more than 100 people in the region now.
Simplistically, I could say that going from 100 million to $500 million is basically about finding customers, larger accounts, selling into them, cross-selling, upselling, all of that. But as an investor and as a founder, what are the nuances that you see? What are some of the things that you need to achieve to get there? And of course, you've raised a new fund yourself, $125 million. Obviously, that will be useful. Can you walk us through all of that?
See, one thing is very clear, right? Like if I continue to do $10,000, $20,000 deal, maybe I would not even reach $100 million. So my deal size had to evolve to 100,000, 150,000. Today to make our quarters, we need to look at a couple of $1 million deals every quarter, right? If I don't do that, I would not get to our quarterly numbers. So similarly, if I have to go to 500 mil, I need to have several customers with paying $5 million, $10 million. So the product market fit or the portfolio fit, which was required for $20,000 to $100,000 to $1 million, it changes. If I am selling $30,000, $50,000 product to a director of operations, maybe the person is very concerned about how I am going to optimize the CRM efficiency. But if I have to sell for $5 million, I need to go to CIO or a CDO, Chief Digital Officer, and tell them, you are spending $500 million on your digital stack. Let me show you ROI on top of it. So I'm not talking about the only web adoption tool which I was talking about. I'm talking about the larger portfolio. So that's how we are also evolving. So right from initially, we just catered to a web application, which web app. Then we extended to desktop and mobile. So we covered the full stack. Then we started creating the data products, analytics for every application. It's very different than typical product analytics, which needs code instrumentation. This is for the people who doesn't have access to code. And then we did enterprise level analytics. So you can get a bird's eye view of how the enterprise softwares are performing. So that became the full view of ROI visualization, and then giving them tools to improvise. Now, looking at further adjacencies, we started getting into simulation. We created a new product called Mirror, which we just launched a few months back. So our portfolio started expanding, and this will help us to increase our ACVs, cater to the higher designations who can write several $1 million of check from the right go. That's one of the recipe. Of course, our GTM also has to evolve accordingly, because I can't, what it takes to sell $50,000, $100,000 might be very different to sell $2 million or $5 million. We need to have a lot more value engineering exercise on the premise of the customers. We need to have a lot more field events. We need to have a lot more user group meetups. So there are, GTM evolution also has to happen accordingly. And of course, as the AI, right? So all this suite has to be Gen AI enabled. We also believe as we are moving into this, as the AI is evolving, most of the softwares, along with two interfaces, what they have today is API and UX. They will also have the third interface that's kind of agents, right? So Whatfix also will evolve along with that. We are already having several customers doing pilot for us, like how do I actually help them to utilize agents more effectively? How do I improvise the agent adoption? So in a nutshell, if I have to say, we are in the business of surfacing the capability of a software. Whatfix is going to evolve. Along with software, we also help surface the capabilities of agents.
So today, are you able to help end users in the enterprise companies get the most out of maybe an agent force agent or a co-pilot?
So even the many of the enterprises are still in early cycle of deploying many of those agents or co-pilots and all, right? So, but we're already doing a few pilots, around 3 to 4 pilots of improving the agent adoption or co-pilot adoption in some of the companies, right? So as number of companies increase their adoption of agents, like today they are using 2 or 3 or 4 agents. Couple of them are homegrown, couple of them they have got from the other vendors. I feel next few years we'll see there will be hundreds of agents in every company. And as that grows, Whatfix usage also for agent adoption will start growing exponentially. If you look at Whatfix, Whatfix is nothing but a layer. I'm talking about the Whatfix so far, is a layer of experience on top of your software stack, right? It just brings you the information or brings you the next step, what you need to do proactively, right? If you're performing on a CRM or ERP, it will tell you what to do. Similarly, Whatfix is not building its own agent. We might have small features here and there, but what we believe, there'll be hundreds of agents, and Whatfix will create a layer where we will try to understand the intent, like what Alok wants to do on a CRM or what Hari wants to do on your ERP software, and recommend you what agent capabilities you can actually explore, what we can get it done. So again, it's creating a layer for improvising that.
Hari, I also want to add here that I know that the entire world is talking about agents, but I think building agents is actually not a trivial thing. And we can differentiate between agents on 2 different kinds of software. Software which is one single version for everybody. Again, I'll go back to email as an example. Building an agent on top of an email, something that actually automatically crafts an email, sends an email, versus something which is going to be an agent on top of a Salesforce, I think is a very different ballgame. And the reason is that think of Salesforce and Salesforce could be Workday, could be Ariba, could be anything else, but they are essentially like a platform or a toolkit. They actually, in some ways, you build the software when you implement it in many ways. Every implementation is different. Yeah. A customer record in company 1 versus company 2 are actually completely different, therefore, right? So when you are building agents, these agents are actually, I think, Whatfix is in such a unique position that I actually cannot think of a second parallel today in the world which has so much data on how enterprise users are using every major enterprise software package. Again, whether that's SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, whatever these might be. But that gives them a very unique leverage in this ecosystem today. So when we are talking of agents on this category of software, I feel that Whatfix will be in a very unique position.
Again, so Alok, as a VC investor, any pointers on seeing companies building products that can scale really massively? I mean, how do you go? I mean, you've seen this in your own career working for large companies.
I mean, first, I think for them, growth from 100 to 500 is a lot easier than, let's say, the growth from 10 to 100. Not that anything is easy, but I think it's easier for sure, in my opinion. Also because of the pole position that they have in their category globally today. It's very difficult to be in that position. But given that they have it, I think that 100 to 500 path, I would say I'm a lot more confident if I had to do a probability prediction than I was in the 10 to 100 journey, right? In terms of, I think very often, Hari, I find that when a barrier gets achieved, it shows the art of possibility to everybody else in the ecosystem as well, right? And when one company is able to get to, let's say, 100 Fortune 500 companies, cross 100 million barriers, there are just lots of other people that start believing that they can do it as well. And it goes to, I think, my earlier statement that I think you now have both belief that we can do it, and number two, I think you have more talent available that can help you get there as well. So the not only the ability to get there, but the time it takes to get there, I think you will see a lot more companies get there in future. It's one of those barriers which once it's broken, you will actually find that it's getting broken repeatedly.
Uh, if I ask you to list out your top 3 challenges, what might they be?
Evolving GTM. That was always a challenge and still a challenge, right? And I think important thing is also how we keep on ramping up our, because journey is what Alok was mentioning, 10 to 100, 100 to 250 or 250 to 1,000 millions. Each journey has its own different learnings and a different way we have to evolve. So maybe how we have evolved so far may not work in future. So how we evolve our processes, playbook, how we evolve our leadership as we go forward. I think that would be another thing which we'll have to continuously learn along with the journey. And third, of course, which a challenge which everybody has today, right? It's AI, like how we can rapidly adapt to the changing world of AI in our applications, in our solutions. And this would be the top challenges for us.
So, as part of the evolving go-to-market scenario, is the way your large customers perceive product companies out of India, is that still an issue in perception, or is it now well understood that great product companies are coming out of India in software?
Very difficult for me to speak for on behalf of everyone, but at least for Whatfix, what I have seen is like maybe 6-7 years prior, when we used to pitch to larger enterprises, there used to be a lot of hard questions in terms of where you are, how you're going to support us. You're 10,000 miles away. Today, when we proactively ask them, doesn't matter where we are pitching from, India or anywhere else, and when we show them the first few slides of the logos in terms of Fortune companies using us, and we tell them that, okay, let's come in, let's catch up in person, they say, no, we are fine. So I think it's completely changed, as Alok was mentioning. Now we have been categorized as a leader by Gartner, Forrester, IDC. So we have that advantage of being category leader. We have advantage of such a huge case studies, testimonials, logos. So generally, we don't face that problem.
So the churn is it also in terms of customers and reflects in your things like net dollar retention and all of those kinds of things? Where are you at on that?
So we always trended on the higher side, like net dollar retention would be always like 115 to 120% range we were. During 2021 peak, it was 125, 130. So we didn't deteriorate there much. Like we still had 115. So most of the customers who start, they keep on expanding. So in our case, expansions are now twofold or threefold, you can say. One is if somebody is buying Whatfix on the CRM for a region, they would add more seats for other regions. Second, they've bought for CRM, now they would buy for Whatfix for HCM, for CLM, CPQ. So that's the second axis where they would evolve. Third axis, which got added in last 1.5 years, was multiple product. They bought Whatfix adoption product on a CRM or ERP. Now they would buy analytics product. Now they will buy simulation product. So there's a three axis we keep on selling more.
How many users in your largest customer today?
Maybe more than 4 million.
4 million users
in one application.
For what? Of Whatfix?
Yeah, on one application for one customer. So we basically cater to both the major use cases. One is, of course, workforce. There are complicated software internally, but we also have a software which is used externally, right? So like somebody is using for tax processing, somebody is using for their field services, or somebody is using for their non-profits. So there are several application sets where there are hundreds and thousands of millions of users.
And they all pay on a per user, per seat basis?
So Pricing is very creative because the usage also differs.
Uh-huh.
Right? As I was mentioning, there are vertical softwares like ERP, CRM, where people live on those software. They're using several hours a day, right? Even those softwares are charged, let's say, $100, $200 per user per month by those vendors, whether it's a Salesforce or a ERP software like SAPs or someone. But there are other software which are not used that frequently, like HR softwares, which you will be using only for your checking your payroll or applying for leaves. They're used maybe probably a few times in a month. Those softwares internally are charged $10, $15, $20 per user per month. Right? Whereas there are consumer software like banks, corporate banking or retail banking. Again, not very frequent usage, more simple, less queries on support and all. So in all those cases, Whatfix prices also differ. We tend to actually price ourselves around 7 to 8% or 5 to 10% range of underlying software price. Like for CRM or ERP, it might be around $5 to $10 per user per month, whereas for HR, software which are not used so frequently, it might be few cents a month.
So, in the traditional sense of a SaaS software being used by a company's in-house employees, who's your biggest customer? How many users?
Several actually. We have like maybe 12 to 15 or more than 12 customers who are paying us million plus. So each one of them are using Whatfix on 40, 50 softwares today. Right? So, for example, like J&J, they're using maybe 80 to 100 software. There are several companies like Marriott and others who have signed enterprise-wide agreement for us. So they have bought Whatfix for all their softwares, and they keep going live every quarter with few of them.
Okay. So one question each before I let you go. For you, over the next 12 months, top priorities, and Alok, for you, based on Whatfix's experience for Stellaris as a VC investor, what might be the next big exciting opportunities where you are now, you know a lot about what you can do?
Yeah, for me, next 12 months, I think immediate next 12 months would be getting my product market fit for AI, right? Which we are piloting, as I was mentioning. That's number one. Number two, actually evolving my product market fit with the new product which we have launched, the mirror and other stuff. That's important. And third, keep ramping up our growth without compromising efficiency part.
Okay.
I'll say that for me at the moment, and this should not be a surprise, the big theme is AI. I do believe that, so there are three opportunities broadly that